Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and joining me this week, I have my very good friend, I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Good to be back. Sorry I missed last week.
Yeah, we missed you during the predictions. Did you have any last-minute predictions you wanted to throw in to the mix?
I don't know if I've ever been right on a single prediction in my life, so best I just sit back and let life do what it wants to do.
Yeah, that's a good philosophy. I enjoy that. Well, this week we've got quite a long list of things to talk about, including some new Game Boy Advance games joining the Switch Online library, new Mario vs. Donkey Kong trailer to talk about, some games we're playing, of course, Prince of Persia is among them, and a few other bits and pieces. So let's get to it. And I wanted to start with this Game Boy Advance titles that's been announced for next week. I think it comes out on the 17th. And it's a pair of RPGs, which is Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age. I was very interested in your opinion about these, Kirk, because I've played one of them. Have you played either of them?
Ironically, no, because they're very much the type of game I should play, and so many of the games I get for entertainment, for review, all say they're inspired by Golden Sun.
Yeah,
This and maybe
right.
Chrono Trigger, and of course, various Final Fantasies are the names that always get tossed around.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I have never played one of these. I think I have a memory at one point of maybe finding one on my Game Boy Advance. I remember having the cartridge at one point. Maybe I still do somewhere around the house. Started it, but never finished it for one reason or another.
Right,
So,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
not enough, no experience.
Well, now is your chance because they're both coming out, as I said, on the 17th, which I think is Wednesday. Is that right? I don't know. It's sometime in the near future.
Yes, it is Wednesday.
Wednesday. And so I played the first one, Golden Sun, and I had it on the Game Boy Advance as well. The cartridge. I maybe also still have it somewhere. Actually, I should go look for it. And I've never played the sequel, Golden Sun: The Lost Age, which I'm very excited to give a go. And I have to say, Golden Sun, the original one, I loved it, and it's one of the only RPGs. Not one of the only ones, but I don't always finish RPGs, right? They're quite lengthy and sometimes I just get distracted. I did finish Golden Sun. I went through and finished the whole thing, which I was really proud of. So it's really good. It's a brilliant little RPG, and so I'll be picking up. I'll be trying the second one, Golden Sun: The Lost Age. But it led me to think about what happened to this series because I haven't heard of it in well over a decade. I didn't even know there was a third one on the Nintendo DS called Dark Dawn. Did you know about that one? Did that exist in your mind at all?
No, I didn't. But to be fair, if you'd asked me I think I knew there was a sequel, but I would have had no idea what it was called. So
Same. Yeah, which is a shame because I did enjoy the first one. I don't know what happened. I think, I had kids around that time, so I'm going to blame that. But yeah, so I don't know what happened to the series. I did kind of do a little bit of research last night, and there was an interview, but this is go back 10 years now. That's the person, the producer or developer, I can't remember his name, wanted to do a fourth in the series, but there's not been any movement on that in about 10 or 12 years. He said something along the lines of, well, if it's popular, if people want this series, then that's going to inspire us to make more. So I think we need to go out there and say we like the series. So hopefully, if this pair of games is coming to the Switch Online and people play it, hopefully Nintendo can tell which games we're playing in the library. I assume they can.
Yeah, I would think so. But I'll tell you what, why don't you do me a favor and sell
Mm-hmm.
me on it a little bit, and then everyone else. Like, I do see it mentioned a lot, but what's so special about
Mm.
Golden Sun that it's so memorable?
Well, I mean, I say memorable, but it's been quite a few years since I've played it. Uh,
Okay, put you on the
I
spot, did I?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I should have looked into it more. No, it basically it's from memory. I think the characters were really good and engaging. Obviously, the animation, it's a classic top-down RPG style, which I love. Like Chrono Trigger, or like Secret of Mana, or old school Zelda. I believe it had. Now this is testing my memory. I think it was random encounters for this one, um, and I'm not a huge fan of those, but given that I love this game, it did well in that aspect. Now I could be lying because this is this is something I'm not actually 100% sure of. But I think it was more about just the style, the graphics, the story, the characters, and it not being overly long or overly or too short. It was a good length for a game and just easily accessible. I think something, and the Game Boy Advance also was just a nice little system to carry around and play on the go. So
Yeah.
maybe that would translate well to the Switch as well.
Yeah, maybe it'd be a
Um,
good option for my Switch Lite when I'm
yeah,
using that instead of one of the
exactly.
other systems.
Yeah, because the Game Boy Advance was a bit to me, it was a bit like a Super Nintendo on the go in terms of graphics, right? It looked,
Yeah.
a lot of SNES games came across, like Super Mario World. I think there was a version of that, and it just looked lovely for a handheld. Considered compared to say the Game Boy, which was awesome in its own right, but when the Game Boy Advance came around, it was leaps and bounds graphically better. better. So I think to have a little portable RPG packed into this little cartridge um, was awesome. So we'll test my memory and see if this one stands up to the test of time and my nostalgic reminiscing of it when I give it a go next week. But yeah,
Um,
did that
yeah.
kind of cover? Did that make you want to play it or not really? It's a bit
Yeah, I
vague,
think
wasn't
so. I think so. I want to give it a try. Also, because like I mentioned, so many of the other games that I have played and enjoyed will reference that as an inspiration. Although
it?
I will
Hmm.
say, I watched the trailer for it, and it's sort of funny to me now that because we see all these games with retro graphics, but they're
Hmm.
done with better technology and on more modern systems,
Hmm.
the retro graphic games look so much better than the games that inspired them.
That's
So
a
I
good
was looking at the
point.
video for Golden Sun and thinking, man, this looks pretty junky.
Mm.
Because it just is what it is. It's an old game and they aren't, doing anything with it. So we've reached the point where the retro updates have surpassed the games that they're, inspired by
Yeah,
visually.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how you get around that. I guess you have to go back and develop it in a I don't know, the way they used to do it, right? Like
Yeah.
use old systems. I don't know. Which is right why it's really cool that some developers are still creating things for older systems. Like you'll see NES games even, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Every now and
um
again, we get a press release for like a new Game Boy Advance game, cartridge and all. Um,
mm-hmm.
or via ROM. A lot of them are delivered via ROM setup.
Yeah, that's true. And
But
just
yeah, we do
because
still see that.
yeah, and so to get that authentic feel to actually develop it for the system, I guess is one way to do it, right?
Right.
So, yeah, interesting. So yeah, let's see. I don't know if you'll have much of a chance to play it before our next episode, but maybe. So we'll see how we go next week. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I'd love to know if listeners are fans of the series and what you think maybe for the future. I think if there's a chance of a sequel, a fourth game, it's just there are so many series out there and if this is such a popular one, I'm just not sure why it's stalled. Maybe I don't know whether the company's dissolved or moved on, or things happen, life happens. But it'd be nice for it to be picked back up, I guess, right?
Maybe ownership of the IP has gotten muddy as happens over time.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, stay tuned for more on that one. Moving on to our next piece of news, which is the Mario vs. Donkey Kong trailer that dropped, I think, a couple of days ago. Have you had a chance to check this one out?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's looking like a really lovely game. Like visually, it just looks crisp and clear and just it's a puzzle-based game with Mario obviously going through little obstacles and this one's it's kind of a port, right? It's a what system was the original game on? I can't even remember.
Was it a DS or 3DS?
Yeah, I
I
think it
think it
was
was one of the two.
mm-hmm. But the cool thing about this port or remake or whatever you want to call it, I don't know how, I suppose it's been remade because it does look so lovely, is that it does feature new worlds, apparently, which is really cool, as well as co op play and a new style mode, sorry, a gameplay mode called casual style. So it looks like, there's a lot to enjoy for people who have already played it, as well as obviously those who haven't. Now, I haven't played the original. I have played one of the games in the series, but I missed this one, the first one, I guess. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and I think it comes out in February, right? It's like the 16th or something. It's only about a month away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
you did,
February 16th.
yeah. Remind me because I can't remember if it was you or Trev. One of you had played this one, I think, was
That
or
was
both of
me.
you. That was you, right?
Maybe Trev as well, but yeah, I had this game, and I'm pretty sure I finished it. I know I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time with it.
Yeah, do you remember I mean, sorry, now putting you on the spot. Because I believe in the trailer it said there were, like, 130 levels or something, and if there are new worlds, I'm wondering how many levels were in the original title. Is that something you might know?
No, no,
No, that's
I
okay.
don't. I will say, if I finished it, I certainly did not play 130. so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they have definitely added some.
Mhm. Yeah, which is great. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. It's a nice change of pace, I guess, from say Mario Wonder, which is a platformer. This has platforming style to it. It's obviously 2D and it's flat and left to right, up and down. But it's the puzzle elements are what makes it unique and special.
Yeah, it's not a platformer in that you
Mm.
have to have a whole lot of skill
Hmm.
to bounce around. It's more like just timing things and avoiding things as you open, like step on some buttons to open new areas, and doing it at the right time so you're not running into the enemies.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
think about it. There is a clock, but you have time to kind of look at things and take it all in, and then decide what to do and put your strategy in place.
Right, and I'm assuming the star rating, like, there's a rating for each level, right? Like, you would get 3 stars if you do it in a certain amount of time kind of thing, or
Yeah,
collect everything.
I can't remember if it's that or if there are things you need to pick up. Like you can complete the level without grabbing everything. So maybe if you grab everything, you get it. But it's
Mhm.
been so long, I can't say for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. We're testing our memories today a lot, so
Yeah.
Yes, but it looks really nice. I'm very excited to see that one in February, and did you have anything else to say about the trailer? What did you think about the casual star mode?
Did they? Didn't see any differentiation. So maybe I just wasn't watching for it. How are they describing
Well,
that?
From what I saw in the trailer, and I don't know how this compares to the original, but it looked like when Mario hit an enemy or some sort of object that I think it was a piranha plant that spit a fireball at him or something, and he sort of turned into a bubble and went back to the flag where he must have saved. It was like a save point. So I feel like I don't know. It seemed that usually you would die and have to start the level again, but this maybe means you can just restart easily with this bubble mechanic. Does that sound
Okay,
right?
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
not running out of lives because you
Yeah.
can run out of lives. Okay,
Right. Yeah, so it seems like maybe it's just, uh, maybe you're sort of still in the level. It's like, I guess, in some of the new Mario Brothers games when you're multiplayer and someone gets, injured or hurt, they come back as a bubble, but the game is still running. You're still playing as long as someone's still alive. It felt a little bit like that, where you didn't have to leave the sort of the level and restart it, or lose a life. You kind of just floated back to the little flag where you must have, that must be a save point, and then you can just give it another go. So I don't know if I assume it's an optional mode,
yeah,
but it just
sounds like it.
makes, yeah, I think it just makes things slightly quicker and easier, I guess. And you can just concentrate on the puzzles rather than maybe worrying so much about losing lives. That's how it appeared to me. I don't know. But the co-op play will be fun. I think that's a really neat touch.
Yeah,
Having two people work together in different areas. Little
yeah, and
Toad help.
that'll be interesting because a lot of it is, going to certain areas, hitting something, working all the way back because now you have access to something you didn't before, and so I'm assuming now you're able to say, okay, you just wait here, I'll go take care of it, and then once you have
Mm,
open access, that person can move in right away. So I'm wondering if they're just handling it that way, or if they are altering the puzzles based on
mm.
whether it's a one player or two player setup, for how you're going
Yeah.
into it. So
Yeah, because that could
we'll
change
find out.
things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that'll be really cool. The other piece of news, and this leads into the games we're playing, because I have been playing Suika Game still over the holiday break, which is the watermelon game that I've been talking about a lot. Probably sick of hearing about it.
Yeah,
But the
and
reason
well,
yeah.
I want to say before you started talking about this game, and I was like, "What is this?" I have no idea. Why are we discussing? But now I see everybody is, and
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
your point. It's like, how does, like, you're able to connect in a way with these games that the world connects with that I don't. Like the ones I like, they're like such a tiny, tiny audience, and I'm right there in it, and I'm very passionate about it. But a lot of these big popular games just go right over my head, and that's what happened here. But you were on it, so good
Yeah,
job.
I guess thank you. I mean, I hadn't heard about it either until, what was it, like November, I guess, last year when there was the free game trial, and I'm just like, well, it's a free game, I'm gonna give it a go. And I did end up purchasing it afterwards, and I've been playing it on and off over the last couple of weeks. Still can't get to what it, so the if you haven't listened to the episode where I talked about this, it's fruit that drop down. It's a very casual, relaxing game. Fruit, you control them, they drop down one at a time. You have to merge them. They start off very small, like a cherry, I think is the smallest, and it goes strawberry, grapes, etc. And the goal is to get a watermelon. The game never ends, apparently. I looked into this because I got so like, do I ever complete this game? I've not. It's more like a score chaser, relaxing little game where you just fruitful and you merge them. So the goal can be whatever you want it to be. My goal was to make a watermelon, which I did finally do, and now I've made quite a few watermelons. My next goal is to obviously make two watermelons, and then merge them and see what happens. But I just can't seem to make two watermelons. It's really hard, but it's also
No,
fun,
they're
and
very big.
they are very big.
They're
They're
a big,
huge.
cumbersome fruit. Are they a
Yes.
fruit? Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason I bring it up again is because it's recently been announced or revealed that the Suika game was actually the number one download in Japan on the Switch in 2023. So,
Wow.
yeah, I know. I
Well,
was
I
blown
guess
away.
also being that cheap helps. Like it's
It
an
does.
inexpensive good, 99 cents or $1.99 or
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's like a dollar or two. It's very, very cheap. Which is good. You really wouldn't want to pay more than that for it because there's only one mode to it. They have little themes, like over Christmas had a special Christmas theme that changes the music and changes the style. That's gone now. They had one at Halloween. I assume they'll have others during the year. It is just a casual game you can just pick up and play once or twice a day if you just feel like getting your score for the day. It has this cool thing where it tracks your score of the day, of the month, of all time type of thing. So I am trying to beat my high score a lot, but I'm nowhere near the top ranking. For example, it does show you online as well. I mean, people are getting tens of thousands of points, and my best is like 2,700 or something like that, which I was happy with. But yeah, it doesn't compare to the rest of the world. Anyway, yeah. So Suika Game, like, it literally beat out things like Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder and Pikmin 4 on the eShop. It's only available on the eShop. It's not a physical game. Obviously, Tears of the Kingdom has physical copies available. So does Mario Wonder. But yes, it was the number one downloaded eShop title in Japan in 2023. I thought that was worth mentioning because it's crazy. It's crazy.
well, it's not doing much to help. What's the word I'm looking for? People who are claiming that the Switch is not a true gaming system for hardcore gamers. The popularity of
Yes.
Suika Game being there at the top is kind of reinforcing their argument a
Yeah, a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
not knocking the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but
Yeah. But it is probably the definition of a casual game.
yeah,
So, yeah.
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 Is it
Interesting.
available for PlayStation or Xbox, or is it just a Nintendo?
I don't know. That is a good question. I don't think it's even on mobile devices, or at least not all of them. I think I saw that it was just released on iOS in Japan recently. I
Yeah, it looks like I'm on the site now, and the only two platforms that they're promoting are Nintendo Switch and the Apple App Store.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I looked on my Android device recently in Australia for my son, and it wasn't available. So, yeah, which is good in a way because normally it's the other way around. Games will come from mobile to the Switch. This one,
Yep.
it's for the Switch, which is really cool, and iOS. So, yeah. So I don't know. I would say check it out. Honestly, it's so cheap, and it's just one of those things you would just play, once or twice a day or a couple times a week, maybe if you take your Switch to work and you're commuting, or if you just want to play. It's to me, it's like I play Wordle every day. It's just like a relaxing thing I do every day where I have my tea and I play Wordle on my phone, try to solve it. It's like that a little bit where you just have a go at Suika every day and just see how you go. See if you can make a watermelon. That's the way I see it. Anyway,
Well,
and
you
then
know
you
what I'm
move
going
on
to
to
do.
yeah.
I'm going to get it on the iPhone.
Okay, cool. Go for it, and then you can report back and tell me how it plays. I guess.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think it's available in the US. I've got the app open now and I typed it in, and there's a
Uh,
watermelon 3D fun merge,
There's a lot of
watermelon fruits match
clones, I
puzzle,
guess.
watermelon. Yeah, it looks like there are some knockoffs. Bunch of
Yes,
people hurrying up
exactly.
trying to take over the popularity
hmm
of Suika. But yeah, it looks like it's only in Japan, or at least not in the US for now, for iOS.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, Suika is Japanese for watermelon as well, which
Okay.
is the name of it is Watermelon Game. So that makes sense that it's developed in Japan. It's released there first. Maybe, given its popularity, I would be surprised if it didn't make its way to the US and to other territories. But yeah, we'll see. You can always get it on the Switch, Kirk, for $1.
Oh, well, all right. I was just thinking that this type of gameplay, I'm more apt to pop it open on my phone
Yeah,
than I am
yeah,
to
yeah.
sit down on the chair and launch the Switch and dig into some Suika.
Suika, yes, exactly. Anyway, so yes, that's my story about Suika. But yeah, so that's one game I'm playing on and off over the holidays. But the bigger game that I'm really excited to talk about today is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, because
Yes.
that yes, we've been talking about this on and off for the last few months since the first trailer dropped and since I played it at PAX, and we've talked about the history of Prince of Persia, but the game is out officially on the 18th, which is Thursday this week, and I have had a chance to play it in advance and review it, and the review is up on our site now. There's a demo available as well right now, so I encourage everyone to jump on and at least try the demo. This game is great. I was so impressed with it. Um, and I'm sure you read my review actually, so you've heard my thoughts already. But
Yep.
how do there's just so much about it that's done really, really well. The team has done a fantastic job with this game. I love that they've kind of started from scratch almost. Like it's not a continuation of the stories we've had before, or a prequel, or it's not. I wouldn't even call it a reboot. It's just a unique story set in this mythological Persian world. We have a new hero called Sargon. He's acrobatic, just like we would expect from the protagonist in the series. He wields two swords, which just are awesome. It's just so much fun to use him to fight. I'm not. I mean, I don't like to use the word Metroidvania, but Ubisoft does, so they're calling it a Metroidvania. It does definitely have Metroid vibes, like the exploration, the mapping, and the combat. It's all very much like a Metroid title. I would think it's very closely aligned to that series. Um, but the battle, because I'm not much of a Metroidvania fan. I mean, I love Metroid, but I'm not very good at those games. They're hard for me. But there's a couple of things that Ubisoft has done really well. Accessibility is one, and I'll get back to that. But the battles just feel fun. They just feel engaging, and I don't want to say easy exactly because I did have it on an easier setting, but that's about accessibility. But it just felt like instead of just sitting there mashing buttons, I was actually able to use different moves well and try new things and succeed. Because you can block, you can dash, you can duck, you can use your swords, you pick up extra weapons. Like you'll get a bow and arrow. You get combos that you can release. Um, when you build up enough power. It's very well engineered. And I really want to say that they've done a great job with designing it and making it work well so that it feels like you're in the zone when you're doing combat, and it actually, for someone who's not a strong combat player, I felt like I was in control, and I could actually, when I saw a big bad boss, yes, it's intimidating, and yes, it was hard, but I didn't feel like I couldn't have a go at it and actually win. So, yeah, they've done a great job. And speaking of accessibility, so yes, there are 5 difficulty levels, so you can choose your path that way. If you do want to challenge, ramp it up for sure. There's just so much that you can change in terms of like colors and contrast, and you can tweak it to almost the nth degree. And I really just love that they've done that. It's kind of a trend I've seen a lot recently with accessibility just being more of a standard. I don't know if you noticed that as well in the games you're playing, Kirk.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ubisoft has just done that just really well. I haven't seen a game with so much accessibility in a long time, and I think kudos to the developers for this, taking the time to develop it properly. The other thing they've done is, on the Switch, we know the Switch sometimes doesn't run very well. These guys, the developers, have have just done such a great job with the hardware, the Switch hardware. I believe what actually happened was they developed it for the Switch first, meaning it was developed properly for this system at its, it's the kind of lowest common denominator across all of the major consoles at the moment. So when you develop it specifically for the one that's got the lowest kind of hardware specs, then the other consoles benefit from that as well because they're obviously scaled up. But the Switch, it just works beautifully. There's no lag, there's no downtime. I didn't see any stuttering or jittering or any kind of delay at all. And it
Did
looks
you play it
beautiful.
in both docked and handheld?
I did, yes. I
Okay.
played a lot in docked because I was away for the weekend, and I had more time to do it that way, and it just felt really, really good in handheld. But it works well in both, honestly. It's just, and it looks beautiful. It's visually quite stunning. The animations, like the introduction, is really well orchestrated. It's not kind of it's just really well animated. I really like the style of it, the story as it unfolds. There's a lot of voice acting, which is great. It's just like it feels like they've packed a lot into this little cartridge for the Switch. And as I said in my review, it just feels almost like a first party title, like the way it runs. We know Nintendo can get the best out of the system. Mario Odyssey or Tears of the Kingdom. Like these are big games with lots of graphical prowess behind them, and they never kind of stutter or suffer from any of those kinds of things that we don't like to see. And Prince of Persia, like it's not an open world Tears of the Kingdom type of game. Obviously, it's a platform, it's a side scroller, but it still looks visually stunning and never suffers at all, frame rate wise or other. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to play it and review it. And of course, you can read my full review on the Pure Nintendo website, purenintendo.com. But I'm just really pleased it turned out well because I know you've been playing it for a long time, like as in the series. You were playing it back on was it the Mac, back in what, the 80s, 90s? When was that?
Yes, would have been the
Yeah,
late 80s.
late 80s.
I think I
Yeah,
first played Prince of Persia.
yeah. So it's a series that's been around a long time. A lot of us have fond memories of it. I know the last major installment was in 2010. So it's been sort of 14 years since we've seen a new entry in the series, like a proper new entry. And I think there's always a risk with that when something comes back and it's not done properly or it doesn't meet expectations or whatever. This one does. It's done really well. So I'm pleased to say, yeah, that it's actually surpassed my expectations at least. So yeah. Are you thinking of picking it up at all, Kirk?
Yeah, I think so. I'll definitely try the demo.
Yeah, absolutely give it a go. I don't know where the demo will be set because, I know the story obviously, but when I played it at PAX, when I played it, recently, I saw the PAX part that I played, and I'm wondering if that's the demo or not. So I'd be interested to see if that's the case. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's really cool, and the world it's set in it's like time has stopped there. And I'm not going to obviously talk about spoilers because the game's not even out yet, but it's there's a lot to discover, and this world is very different and unique, and I really like the time element as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think the way you described the world in the review, right there on the Nintendo website in their splash graphic for it,
Hmm.
elements of that are on display. So yeah, I don't think it
Mm.
would be a full spoiler.
Hmm.
But yeah, you can
Yeah.
tell by looking that we're not, we're going to be in a bit of a fantasy world in this game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, there are definitely fantasy elements. Yeah, and the exploration, and I guess I do have to mention the map, which is something that really stood out to me. So you know, basically the map unravels as you progress. So when you reach a new area, it kind of shows up in the map. That's all pretty standard. There's icons. You can switch them on and off if you want something a bit more difficult as well. Again, accessibility, but it's really easy to navigate. I kind of mentioned this in my review as well, and it's only really dawned on me recently how much maps mean to me, because I played a few games where the maps just confuse the heck out of me, and I just don't know where I'm going, and I can't navigate myself properly. And this one, it's really intuitive, it's really easy. But the best part is a little feature called memory shards, where it's a kind of a device you're given in the game, and you can take a snapshot of the screen that you're on, um, in game, and add it to your location on the map. And the reason you might want to do this is because maybe there's a treasure you can't reach, or there's a path you want to investigate later. but you don't have the ability to get there at the moment, or you don't have time, or whatever, you're on a quest, you don't want to get sidetracked, take a screenshot, you pin it to the map. It's really, really simple to do. It's automatic. And then go on your merry way. And then when you look at the map later, you can see the pin, and you can look at the screenshot and go, oh, that's right. That's where I want to go to do that. So I just love that feature. I really think it's cool. It sort of reminds me of when we had the DS, and you might play Zelda or something with a top-down map on the bottom screen, and you could just draw all over it. Draw your little notes or whatever. Like, oh, I need to go there. It reminded me of that in a more 2024 way, where it's, yeah, we don't have the DS anymore. Obviously, we're not drawing, but just the ability to kind of mark a location. I just thought that was really neat. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I made a note of that when I was looking at your review, because the last few, we'll say it again, Metroidvanias that I played, that was a criticism that I
Right.
pointed out, because I don't like it when you've got this giant map in this giant area, and you see a treasure chest that you
Hmm.
can't get because you don't have the right ability, and you're so far removed from it when you finally get that ability with no memory at all of where that
Yes.
was. So you're
Yeah.
backtracking blindly, or you just say forget it. Yeah, the ability to make any kind of note that this is where this is and this is where this is, so I know exactly where to go, would be key. So I was so happy to see that this game had that when I read your review.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, I agree completely. It's definitely a feature of Metroidvanias, I think, that you have to backtrack. We all know that. This makes it so much easier. You can even skip parts though, not related to the map, but just again that accessibility feature. If you need to go back through areas, there's a way to actually kind of skip areas if you needed to, if you wanted to, if it was too hard, or you just don't want to backtrack, if it's too annoying, whatever. There's so much you can do to customize this. Yeah, it's really well done. It's really, really well done.
Do enemies respawn?
They do actually, yeah. So, which is annoying, but that's why the skipping feature is really good. And the platforming is spot on. It's just like you would remember in terms of the acrobatic. Jumping from platform to platform, swinging on ropes, avoiding spikes. You can
Hanging on ledges? Do you have to grab
hanging.
ledges and pull yourself up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
then about what do you call it? Like I call it the ninja kick, which is like from Mario. But you can leap onto a wall but bounce onto the opposite wall. Is that a
Okay.
feature
Yeah.
that's always been in? I don't know if that's always been in these games or not. I feel like he's added a few moves.
Yeah,
to,
it's been in so many games now, you don't know where you where
yeah,
you first
exactly,
experience it.
exactly. Yes. So yes, very happy with Prince of Persia. I gave it 9 out of 10. Jump online and read my review if you like, listeners. But yeah, definitely check out the demo. 100% guarantee you should do that. That's not really a guarantee. I 100% encourage you to do that. Yeah. Any other questions about Prince of Persia, Kirk?
Nope, not at
Cool.
the moment.
Okay, well, that's my wrap of Prince of Persia. The other game I've been playing for review, which is also on the website, you can check it out, is a quite different game. It's a very small. Okay, it's called Knights of the Rogue Dungeon, and it's a dungeon hopper. It's a roguelike. It's a, I don't want to use the word casual again, but it's it's a little bit casual in that you're a little knight who has to jump from platform to platform. You have to jump on every platform in the level. It's an isometric kind of view, and the way to describe it is Qbert, right? Everyone seems to know
Okay. Yeah. All
that
right.
style, right? That kind of
Yep.
isometric, sort of top down view kind of thing. Not top down, but side. I don't know. Isometric. That's the way you describe it.
Yep.
Basically, yeah, you have to leap onto every square or cube in the level. It changes color when you touch it. And once you touch every cube in the level, you finish level. That's it. That's the goal. Touch every cube. But there are little things that make it more fun than that. And that is when you touch a certain number of cubes in a row, you unleash this knight power. And at the start, it's 8 cubes. You have to touch 8 cubes in a row, as in uncleansed cubes or uncolored cubes. Once you touch 8 in a row, you unleash this knight power. As long as you keep touching cubes you haven't visited before, you'll maintain this knight power. As soon as you revisit a cube, you lose your knight power. And that just means you're back to normal. But when you have your knight power, you can jump on enemies and get extra points. And it's like you're invincible basically. So it's fun, and you just hop around, as fast as you want while you're invincible. It's not timed. As long as you're jumping on squares you've been on before, you will stay invincible. But you can one of the best things about this game is that, I mean, A, it's very addictive. I don't know if I'm selling it here, but it's actually really addictive because the levels are quite small. They only take like a minute to complete. And then there's like 10 in the first world, and then there's 20 in the second world, and it just keeps growing and growing. When you complete the first world, you can then start from the second world every time, even if you die. But if you die anytime during a level, you have to go back to the beginning of that world. So what you can do is upgrade your abilities, which makes it heaps easier because it's actually really tricky. Um, so you can upgrade your abilities so you can have, say, there's 8 cubes you have to jump on originally. You can get it down to 7, 6, 5, 4. I think the lowest you can go is 3. So now every 3 cubes you are touching that you haven't touched before, you become a knight. And so it's much, much easier to vanquish these enemies. Of course, the enemies get harder, and then there are spikes and other things to avoid. So it kind of balances out. It's really easy to play. It's really easy to pick up. I found myself quite addicted to it for a while there. It's got a very strong just one more go kind of feel to it because it is just such a quick thing. You can just play through 10 levels in 10 minutes. And then you want to get to the end of World 2, for example, which is 20 levels. And you get up to level 15, and you die, and you're like, oh, I just want to give it one more go. And you run through it again. And then when you get to the end, you feel really satisfied. So yeah, it's just a fun little title that's, yeah, again, hate the word casual. It's a little bit casual, but it's just super fun, super addictive. Something quite different to, say, Prince of Persia, for example. But it's a little bit like Suika in that it's one game that I found myself playing just a couple of times every day over the last sort of week or two. I'll just have a go. I'm like, oh, I'm going to play Suika. Okay, I've done that. Now I'm going to have a quick go at Knights of the Rogue Dungeon, see if I can beat this whatever world or unlock this new feature. And then move on to Prince of Persia and spend a few hours on that. So, yeah, that's how I see it anyway. That review's on the site. I think I gave that one 7.5 out of 10. So it's a fun time. I think
Are
there's a
there
discount at
puzzle
the moment.
elements to it? Sorry.
In Knights of the Rogue Dungeon, not particularly. No, you
Okay.
just have,
So it's not
yeah,
like you have to hit the cubes in a certain order. You just need to
no.
hit them once you do once, they're locked. And then,
Yes, they don't
okay.
change back. So if you visited a cube and it's changed color, if you revisit it, it doesn't change back.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's the strategy, I suppose, is that you, because of the night power, you want to revisit as few cubes as possible. And I found it extremely satisfying to be able to go through a whole level without touching a cube twice. You can't always do that because of the random layout. Sometimes you just can't. It's just impossible. There's just, you have to backtrack. But there are levels that you can do that, and it's really fun to find that path and go and just, you spend the whole level in night mode. It's really cool. And then the points really add up and you get lots of coins. And then, of course, you can buy more from the shop and level yourself up even more. So, yeah, it's super satisfying to do that. So that's my little personal challenge, is just to get through it as without revisiting as much as possible. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely recommend that one if you're looking for something different. And let's move on to something that you're playing, because I've spoken a lot now.
Yeah.
What are we
We'll give you a rest for a few moments.
Yeah. Well, what are you playing at the moment, Kirk? Something called
The
Growth?
first game I'm going to talk about is one that actually came out on December 21st. We're reviewing it now. We jumped on that a bit late.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Growth. This is also a puzzle game. It's very interesting in that the whole point of the game is to basically spread life.
Mm-hmm.
You're again with an isometric view. You're given these large maps of hexagonal. Are they hexagonal? What is it? 6 sides, whatever.
Yeah, that's hexagonal. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Um, but so there are all these tiles, and you start out, you can't see where anything is. You get like some clues, and maybe they're like some forests off somewhere, and you can see what they are. But you have a tiny little forest area, and it has a certain number of animals in it. Like, let's say you start with 2 deer. um, you can move the deer across a few of the hexagons to unlock another area, and depending on what you unlock, that could create more life. You might create like a warthog, for example, or more deer, or a bee. um,
Cool.
and as you acquire more animals, you're able to push them out to other areas. Some are going to be necessary, like, let's say if you get a bee, it can fly, so it's able to go across a river to be able to unlock an area elsewhere. However, you only have a certain number of moves. So if you're moving your deer and one has to stay behind and then you move another one, you can eventually run out of animals. So there's a lot of strategy to it. I don't know if there's more guesswork. For me right now, there's guesswork because I'm not too far into it. And I don't know if I've completely wrapped my brain around the strategies you're supposed to be using to get to where you are. There's a decent tutorial at the start of it. I think I may need to play through that again, however. But
Yeah.
when you'll play around, you will run out of animals, and then basically the puzzle ends, and you've only uncovered 20% of the area that you should be unlocking everything. Um,
Right.
so I haven't really played a game like this before. There is no story whatsoever. They don't try to create any sort of like fake narrative
Hmm.
to give you interest. They literally just say, "Okay, here's the game, go," and you do. There's barely a soundtrack, but it's very relaxing. There's not a lot of pressure. There's no time limit. You can hear the ambient noises, of the areas you're unlocking and such. And the tiles have this nice sort of like a. I'm really dating myself here, but like a clacker board where you used to be like a subway station or a train station, and the pieces would flip when the new train was coming in to get to the next number or letter.
Ah,
It
okay.
has kind of that effect. It's got this some nice sound, so it's a very relaxing, calming game. um, but it is a little challenging. I think after I played it a bit more, I'll start to get into the flow of it and be able to figure out, okay, move here, go here first, do that kind of thing. It's almost got like a little bit of a minesweeper randomness to it
Mm.
because you
Hmm.
don't know what you're going to flip. You could be moving, trying to find another forest, but you end up hitting a river and you're not able to cross it because you don't
Right.
have a bee, and now you've got to go a different direction.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's just unlike any of the puzzle games I've played, at least recently. But I'd say even going further back than that. So unique game. It's only $10 in the eShop, available now, and I'll have a review up. I'd say within a week or so on this one.
Yeah.
But a fun little surprise.
That looks very interesting. And are the levels random? Like if you don't make it through, like you get whatever percentage, and then
No,
you restarted it. Is it the same?
no, or it is the same, or at
Ah,
least
okay.
I want to say it is, but when it resets, and I've end up trying again, I've gone in a different direction. So
Hmm.
I say it's not random, but having not done the exact same thing, maybe it's not, um, or maybe it is.
Are there levels? Like, are you trying to get through level one, two,
Yes.
three? Ah, okay. So that would make sense if they're not random then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that looks really interesting. That does look very unique, actually. I love the little icons of the animals too. I'm looking at it as you
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there are 8 different animals to unlock.
Right. Yeah, that is so unique. Wow.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I believe it's a warthog. The warthog oddly can go further than the deer.
Oh, okay.
So you could push further along to unlock something, but if you go too far, then your deer can't go to visit on one move.
Right.
And if you take 2 deer and put them together, you create like sort of like a mini forest. They have a word for it. I can't remember what it is right now. But so there's a lot of
Right.
strategy involved in spreading your animals out to make sure that you're able to unlock as
Wow.
much of this.
And the goal is to get 100% of that
Yeah,
level unlocked. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And the goal's
Cool.
kind of nice too, especially with this world of climate change where we're taking nature and sort of like smashing it down. We're here, we're spreading it out, we're doing the exact
Yeah.
opposite and pushing life out further to populate the world. And so it's sort of like a nice counter to what we're actually experiencing.
Yeah. Brilliant. That looks really interesting. I can't wait to hear your final thoughts on that one because, yeah, it looks very unique and different. Yeah, I do love the look of it and the colors, the hexagonal style.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of, there was a, no, I'm not going to say it because I can't remember the name of it. There's a game last year, but it was not about spreading animals. It was just about making cities and things like that. Anyway, that was fun. Yeah, cool. Now the other game you're playing, which I'm excited to hear about, is Sea of Stars. How's that going?
Yes, finally, and sadly, although I put it on the list, I haven't gotten that far into it yet. In
Hmm.
fact, I restarted it because I started the demo when it was available. but it had been so long between when I didn't complete the demo, but so long since I first started playing that to when I finally made this purchase and went to play it that I just started all over again. But you know what? This is kind of it reverts back to my discussion on uh, Golden Sun. Is that the
Hmm.
name of that game we were
Hmm.
talking
Yep.
about? Where because this again is one of those games that was inspired by that type of game. I don't know if they mentioned this one or that game specifically in their press for this, but it's such a gorgeous game. It's
Mm.
retro. It looks like a game you would have played, on an older system. But it's fun to look at. It's as you're exploring, you're really wrapped up in the world.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and that's partly because of the visuals. It's partly because it's a little more interactive. Like let's say a lot of these kind of games where you're running around, you like reach a ledge and you jump off. You don't really feel like you're there. You feel like you're kind of floating on top of the environment.
Mm.
But here you've got to hit buttons. In order to make those moves, and it makes you feel more connected to the world that you're in. And it's a small touch, but it's a really nice
Mm.
one. And I think, as Justin mentioned before, as you're fighting, although it's turn based, you don't just sit there, hit the button, watch the move happen, and then go to the next. You can actually time a button hit in order to do additional damage, so you're more involved in that
Yeah. Yeah.
as well. Um, so I like that. I like the story. I like we pick up with these characters, and it's not long before you really feel like you're part of that group um, as they move around, and it's just immediately engaging. And I can hardly wait to push further to get further along in this story and get to know all these people better.
Very cool. Do you know from your memory, is the demo the start of the game, or is it sort of a random point in the game?
I can't remember what I did at the demo.
I
I
think
didn't even think about that. As I started it again, where was I at the demo? I believe we start differently.
yeah, because the demo started on a mountain, I think, didn't it? And then you went
Yeah, yeah.
down.
We
You
were
did.
we were at the top of that mountain, and they were talking like there was a person or a character who
Mm,
brought up something that in the demo I had no memory of, and that's when I thought, okay, we're somewhere else. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. Now that you mentioned, it, we do start differently.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. I mean, you tend not to start demos right at the beginning because sometimes there's a prologue or some kind of story. You don't necessarily want to be bogged down with that in a demo because you want to sort of see how it plays, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's got to be a long demo. Like I look back to was it Dragon Quest 11?
Mm, mhm.
Is that the one? I think there was a demo for that where it was like a 10-hour demo,
Oh
11
wow.
hours, but it started you at the beginning. I was never going to
Right.
purchase that game. I had never played a Dragon Quest game in my life.
Yeah.
But it's, obviously it's the kind of game that looks like I would enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I grabbed that demo, I played it, and the moment I stopped, I went out and bought it the next day.
Right, there you go. Oh, well, that worked for you then.
Yeah, and loved it. Loved that game. But we're
Wow,
not talking
yeah.
about that right now. We're talking about Sea of
No.
Stars.
Yes, you start, so get back on track. Yeah, well, it sounds great, and there's DLC for this one, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Is
there
that
is DLC coming. I don't think it's
mhm,
available yet unless they
okay.
they just did it. In fact, that's one of the reasons they announced via press release recently that the DLC is on the way, and that's how. So I got in touch with them and pointed out for the PR company and mentioned we never reviewed this, so they gave us a code
Mhm.
so we would be able to do it with the DLC. I'm actually not doing the review. Bill's taking that for us.
Oh, okay, cool.
Um,
Yeah,
so we'll have two people that'll be able to talk about this game. But yeah, I'm,
nice.
I'm pushing through it on my own. So
Yeah, brilliant. That sounds really good. Yeah, it does look lovely, honestly. I think we all tried the demo and loved it, so yeah, I'm glad you finally got around to it because you were talking about it being a Christmas purchase for
yeah,
yourself. I'm glad to see that happened, yeah.
yeah. But what, well, the funny because yeah, I was waiting for a Nintendo eShop gift card and I didn't get one. So just
Really?
yeah, went and bought it myself. I shouldn't have waited. Should have already. I should be much further in this game than I am.
Mm. No, I didn't get one either. I went and bought myself an eShop gift card. And another way to save money is they sometimes, I don't know, in Australia at least, different retailers will have discounts on eShop cards. So I went to JB Hi-Fi, which is a electronic store in Australia. They had 10% off gift cards. eShop gift cards. So I kind of save money on games that way as well, which is nice. So yeah. Does that ever happen like at Best Buy or Target or whatever? Do you get
I
like,
don't know. Here, where I get my gift cards in my part of the United States, the local grocery chain is called Giant Eagle. And
cool.
when you buy gift cards, that counts towards the money that you accumulate towards money off your groceries or gas at the
Ah,
affiliated gas station.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't get my cards at a discount, but if I buy from there, then I end up getting a discount on my groceries. So
Yeah, that
should do it that
that's
way.
also good.
Yeah.
Discounts are discounts, so that's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Are you playing anything else? Or that's kind of got you pretty busy, I guess, at the moment, right?
Well, I'm still, and part of the reason I'm not that far on this is because I still have not finished Persona 5 Royal.
Oh, right.
But I'm
Okay.
very far into that game, and hopefully we'll have that done very soon. But
Yeah, okay. That's good.
yeah, it's a time sink. Got to at least be over 100 hours, maybe up to 120, and I had no idea this game was that long. No idea.
Wow. Okay. Yep. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yep.
The thing I wanted to add to our show, and I didn't check with you if you thought this was a good idea or not, or not. Since it's
Oh,
well, it's now 2024, right? It's a new year. What we've been talking about, everyone has been talking about the Switch sequel, the Switch successor, the Switch 2, whatever Justin calls it, the Switch Nitro, whatever it is. We all think it's coming out this year, or at least being announced this year. Um, so I don't know if we want to tell a little Switch 2 rumor of the week or something like that. If we heard anything interesting during the week until we finally get something from Nintendo. But I just saw this last night. I thought it was cute. Not cute exactly, but it's this because it's a company called Game Shark, right? Which I think I don't know this company, but maybe it's an American thing where it used to help gamers uh, cheat or at least make things easier somehow. Is that a thing?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. It was something, I can't remember what it was, but I do remember that yeah, you could get it, and it would help you unlock various cheat codes that you could use in
Yeah.
games.
Right. Like the Game Genie. Was that a thing? I think there was a Game
Yeah, it
Genie. Yeah.
sounds familiar too.
Yes. So Game Shark, apparently, the story is Game Shark is back. They haven't been around for a while, but they're back and they're rebranding as AI Shark. I think they're doing AI somehow in some capacity. And there was some kind of press release, and they mentioned that they were launching alongside the Switch 2 in September 2024. Now, of course, it's not true. As in, the Switch 2 is not releasing in September 2024. Game Shark or AI Shark, whatever they're called now, just put that in and made a guess, I suppose you could say. And honestly, I think they probably just did it to get some attention, which now I'm talking about it, I'm like, I'm giving them the attention they wanted. So maybe that's not a good thing. Anyway, the point is, it was a rumor that happened. Um, September, could be a feasible time for a Switch 2 launch. We don't know yet. That's why it's a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. But I mean, I just thought it was fun to hear about these kinds of things because everyone's going nuts waiting for this announcement. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's crazy. So,
Yeah, I equate this to like the sports announcers who will pick a ridiculous upset to happen. And
right.
of course, it
Okay.
doesn't happen because it was ridiculous and everybody forgets it and they move on and just talk about the game. But if he manages to get it right,
Yeah.
then like I was the only one who called this. I knew this was going to happen. Like, no, you didn't. You were just being random. You picked something. It worked out for you. Great. Maybe that sounds to me like this is what Game Shark's doing here.
Yes,
Yeah, it's going to come,
exactly.
let's say September. And if we're right, we've got clout. People are going to listen to us because we got this one right. They're going to think we're right about everything. So this will work out. And if not, who cares? Everyone got a prediction wrong. And we'll just get buried in the process.
Yeah, I do have a Simpsons quote related to that actually
Oh.
for the sports analogy. I think Homer was watching football or something, and there was someone making those random calls and gets one wrong, and he says, "Well, folks, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time." So I love that.
There you go.
Yes. So that's the Switch 2 rumor of the week. We talked a lot about the Switch 2 last week because Justin, as I said, he called it the Nitro. That's just his name for it. Not he's not predicting that name. He just thinks it's a cool name.
Yep.
He thinks it's going to be announced and released this year. Trevor was saying he thinks it's going to be announced this year, released next year. What did you think? What was your take on that?
I'm going to side with Justin on this one. I think it will
Hmm.
be announced this year and released this year. I don't think Nintendo is going to want to go through another holiday season without having a new console for people to
Hmm.
pick up. You know, as
Yeah.
great as the Switch sales have been, and there are always new gamers growing up and wanting to get their hands on it, I don't see how they would be able to sustain it for one more or an entire year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I tend to agree with you as well. I think it's going to be hard to, especially if they do announce it this year. We know that might lead to disappointing holiday sales for this existing system for the Switch if everyone's waiting for the Switch 2. So yeah, I don't know. I think you're probably right there. Um, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
Oh
Let,
yeah,
let us know,
like I
Nintendo.
said, I don't do predictions because I'm always wrong.
We need a percentage for you then, so you can say when you're right X percent of the time, you're wrong 100 minus X. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, it's going to be a fun year, and I think this year's off to a really really good start. I'm very excited for 2024. Thanks to the likes of Prince of Persia, I think it's a really solid start to the year. I think we've got another Code Recollection to look forward to this week as well, which comes out on Friday. We've got Mario versus Donkey Kong to look forward to in February. We've got Princess Peach. There's Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. There's a lot. I don't know. Yes,
Unicorn
sorry.
Overlord in early March is the one I'm most looking forward to.
Oh, okay. Yes. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? I think I
Do I?
remember.
Well,
Oh,
it's a
that's the
game
RPG,
from
right? Yes.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
from Vanillaware. Is that the company that's putting that out?
Yes, it
Um,
is. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they did a game recently. I'm going to kill myself because once again I cannot remember the name.
I could look up why you talk about this one if you
Yeah,
like.
thank you. Aegis Rim, 13
Oh,
Sentinels,
okay.
Aegis Rim, sorry.
Yes, there
My
it
apologies,
is.
because, yeah, that was the first game I played from them, I believe. They had another game that looked good called Odin Sphere that never came to a Nintendo device, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was completely blown away by 13 Sentinels. As the unique gameplay, the visuals of it, the story, uh, the way everything combined, I had so much fun with that. And I played it late. It was one of those games that when it came out, I thought, okay, but didn't jump on it. Then there was a lag, and I thought I'm going to try this game now. I did and loved it. So um, this Unicorn Overlord does not in any way, shape, or form look like it's going to resemble the gameplay for that one at all. Visually, it's got kind of their same aesthetic to it. But yeah, it's kind of an RPG that looks like there's an awful lot of world building in it too. There are cooking components to it. It looks like it's just going to have an awful lot to do. I don't have a full grasp on exactly how everything happens. They just released a new video today
Cool.
that shows more of the gameplay. And even after watching that, I'm still not entirely sure how everything is going to tie together. But I'm really looking forward to finding out.
Yes. Well, I think that's a good way to do a trailer because then, you don't want to give too much away, especially with these types of games that are very story driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah, and
cool.
it
And I,
looks like they'll be releasing more trailers as we get closer. So piece by piece, everything's going to fall into place, and regardless of where it all ends up falling, I will definitely be buying and playing this game.
yeah, and that one's out, I think, the 8th of March. Is that correct? Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another good one to look forward to.
Yep. My
Um,
son's birthday.
oh, nice. Mine's only
Not
2
that
days
he'll play it, but
after that.
sorry,
Mine.
can't celebrate your birthday. New game came out.
Yeah, sorry. Dad's got a Nintendo job to look after, so
Yeah.
but
Oh,
they'll have
he'll
to wait.
understand. He'll
Yeah.
understand.
Yes. Yeah, so I do think it's shaping up to be a good year. I know we've talked about, last year, the first half of the year was busy and then we didn't know what was happening. Then a lot happened. So 2023 was a big year in itself. Don't know what's happening with the second half this year. So it could be that, yeah, it's a Switch 2 kind of deal. Or Nintendo is just going to surprise us with more stuff as they tend to do. I think when can we look forward to our next Nintendo Direct? Justin seems to know the cadence of those. I can never remember. Probably February though,
February?
right?
They
Yeah.
usually have one in February, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited to see what happens then. Obviously, we'll cover it on the show when it does happen. But I think, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. It's going to be a very, very exciting year. And we'll go through it together each and every week on the Pure Nintendo podcast. So,
Yep.
did you have anything else to talk about today, Kirk, before we wrap things up?
No, I don't think so. I'm just as we're talking here, I'm looking through the coming releases
Hmm. Hmm.
here on the Switch, and we do have some of the ones that we didn't cover that are coming out at least up through April, such as I can't pronounce this. Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes is another JRPG for guys like me.
Cool.
Saga Emerald Beyond. Let's see, we didn't mention Luigi's
Oh yeah.
Mansion 2, and that's on its way.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Princess Peach Showtime. Did we say that one?
Yes, oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely Princess Peach, and those are the kind of games that I expect to be covered in February if they do have a Nintendo Direct. But either they would have to be ready to announce a Switch successor, or give us one or two games for the Switch that haven't been announced yet. Because doing one where we're just talking about games that they've already covered um,
Hmm.
will not cover it. People will not be happy with that. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
we either have to get new games or the next system announcement.
Yeah, that would be amazing if it happens in February. Oh my gosh. Then we could put our rumor of the week to rest straight away.
Yes,
Uh,
only a few.
we'll see if it catches on. And I mean, yeah, there'll definitely be, I assume there would be some kind of game announcement. If not Switch 2, then yes, there's going to be other Switch titles they're going to talk about, because that's what they
Yeah.
do every time. There's something new and exciting they drop during a direct. So I'm excited to see
Yeah.
what that will entail.
Wouldn't it be
Um,
funny if they finally announced Metroid 4 for the Switch?
yeah. Oh, what would people think? I don't know. I guess they'd be excited, right?
Yeah.
I
Or they
mean,
could do two versions of it too,
they
like they did
could.
for which Zelda game was that? Was it Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword?
A
Where
couple, I
they
think, have done
released it
that.
for each system, like for the Wii and the Wii U.
Yeah, Twilight Princess, I believe, did that. Um, even wasn't Bre- did Breath of the Wild come out on the Wii U as well? No, it didn't, did it?
Oh,
I
did
don't
it?
know. I'm not really good at that. Sorry, it's a Trev question.
Yeah, he's got the memory for those kind of things. I have to remember things like 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and I failed at that today. So
Just say it
too
10
much
times,
Nintendo
everyone.
history for me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, but overall, I think yeah, it's going to be exciting. Can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings to us. Thank you so much, Kirk, for joining me today and talking about all things Nintendo. I did want to say before we sign off, we are now on Blue Sky, which is a Twitter-like social media platform. So if listeners are also on Blue Sky, head on over to that platform and search for Pure Nintendo. You'll find us. We have 2 posts so far. So yeah, we're very new to the platform. You can also still find us on Twitter/X for now at Pure Nintendo. We have our website, purenintendo.com, and we're also working on the next edition of our bi-monthly magazine, and that is shaping up to be a big issue with lots of 2024 excitement. Head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo if you'd like to jump on board and get yourself a hard copy delivered to your mailbox in the near future. That brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you, listeners. Until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.